In our new unit, we're focusing on talking about our local area and the types of houses, apartments and buildings that we live in. Now, the first question we can ask is ¿Dónde vives? We know the question word ¿Dónde, meaning where, and we know the second person conjugation of the infinitive vivir, vives, meaning you live. So together, where do you live? And we've got three examples of places we could say we live. We could say vivo en un edificio, meaning a building. It could be vivo en una casa, meaning I live in a house. Or vivo en un piso, I live in an apartment. So edificio, building, piso, apartment, casa, house. And we can learn a whole list of nouns that will help us give more detail. For example, on the left-hand side, vivo en una ciudad, I live in a city. And on the right-hand side, vivo en un pueblo, meaning village or town. To add more details, we could describe more specifically. Vivo en el campo, I live in the countryside. Vivo en el centro de la ciudad, I live in the city centre. Vivo en las afueras de la ciudad. Afueras means outskirts. Vivo en la montaña, I live in the mountain. You can also use the plural, las montañas, for the mountains. Vivo en las montañas. And then vivo en la costa, I live on the coast. We can also say where we live. So vivo en un piso en Madrid, saying the town, the name of the area you live, the name of the neighborhood. And on the right-hand side, another example, vivo en una casa en Vigo, another place. Vigo is a place, that's why it's got a capital letter. Now we know our conjugations of vivir already because these conjugations are regular. So vivo, I live, vives, you live, vive, he or she or it lives, vivimos, we live, vivís, you plural live, and viven, they live. And then we've got our nouns at the top, una casa, a house, un piso, an apartment, un edificio, a building, una ciudad, a city, un pueblo, a town or village, un barrio, this is a new one, it means a neighborhood, el centro, the center, and las afueras, the outskirts. And using our existing knowledge of Spanish, we can add a lot more detail. So we could say mi casa, or mi piso, or mi chalet. Chalet is a specific type of building in the style of Swiss chalet. Es, it is, muy or bastante, so very or quite, and then our adjectives that we already know. Here are just two examples. Of course, you can choose your own. So we've got grande and pequeño or pequeña. Remember, for the adjectives, we need our adjective agreement. Piso is masculine, so we use an O at the end of adjectives. And casa is feminine, so we use an A at the end of adjectives. So we can use this structure to describe our house or our apartment. And we can also give more details by saying what our house or apartment has. Tiene, it has, and then we've got tres habitaciones, 3 rooms. So this is information that's very easily adapted to your own living environment. I'm going to read out a short text just to remind you of some of the pronunciation. Read along. Hola, soy Nuria. Vivo en un piso, en un edificio de 4 plantas. Está en el centro de la ciudad. Es bastante grande, tiene 7 habitaciones, tiene 2 balcones y un garaje. Es muy bonito. I'm just going to pick up a few things. This paragraph shows you how you can use a lot of this vocabulary, but I'm going to pull out just a few things. We've got 4 plantas. A planta is a level. So 4 plantas is stories. This is I live in a building which is 4 stories. Está en el centro. Previously, we've seen vivo en el centro. I live in the center. But está comes from estar, meaning it is. we know that we use estar to mean location. So when we're describing the house, we can say está en el centro. It is in the center of the city. We don't use ser, we don't use es here because we're talking about location and location is temporary. Over here, we've got es bastante grande. It is quite big. For this version of to be, we use ser because this is an inherent characteristic of the building. This is a really key difference that you need for this unit, and that is why in our previous lesson we've been practicing the difference between ser and estar. So to sum up, we use estar for temporary characteristics, including location. Even though the location of your house doesn't change, we count this as a temporary characteristic. And we use ser for es when it's inherent characteristics which won't change. The final thing I want to pull out is we've got balcones, this is a cognate for balcony, and garaje, which is a cognate for garage. We're going to be learning a lot more rooms in the next few lessons, but for now we're focusing on the type of area you live in.